Good evening. I'd like to call the July 2nd, 2024 Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Marco, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dawson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
Mrs. Galucci?
Present.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Present.
3 present, 2 absent.
Thank you, Ms. Marco. A quorum is present. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Mrs. Galucci, would you lead us?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I know we don't have a huge crowd here tonight, but just remember to please sign up if you'd like to speak can't talk tonight, under privilege of the floor. All right? So now we'll open up privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
We'll soon find out.
Nobody signed up?
But she's getting the list for her
I'm
now.
sorry.
Thanks. I'm going to get my board.
Thank you, thank you.
Brenda DeRosian?
Remember this quote from Abe Lincoln: "The government of the people, by the people, for the people shall not perish from the earth." But evidently, the government in Rotterdam is not here for the people. A couple questions from the last meeting where we had a full house, and you guys didn't listen to the people. What's the problem with the Rotterdam Center that you guys did it in such a way that it wasn't going to get developed? All you guys up here, you better than people out there that you don't care about the less fortunate? Because that basically is what that means. Miss Supervisor Collins, you said that this was the best thing for the people of Rotterdam. More or less. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, right here. I'm paraphrasing. You can shake your head all you want. I want to know why. I was at that center Friday. And you know what the talk was when people were waiting to get their produce? Are they going to shut us down? We need this place. And you know what my answer was? The board already decided. Why? I thought Rotterdam was a diverse community, but evidently it's not. Evidently, the town board here is only for those people that are okay, that are financially stable. You don't care about the less fortunate. And you guys up here claim you're Christians. God, man, Jesus came down today. Yeah, he's crying right now. This center is not this is what I don't understand. This center is not costing the taxpayers of Rotterdam a single dime. Yet. You had a packed house here. Everybody told you how they felt. And you, Supervisor Collins, said, you're not changing your mind. It's staying right where it is. You're not even going to talk about it. And to say that, you know, those kinds of people need not be here in Rotterdam, well, it was in the paper. So stop, man, stop. If it is in the paper and it's wrong, then I'll ask Mr. Arnold to write a retraction. It was in the newspaper. It was saying, and one of the people from the center, can't say who it was, but it was said that those kinds of people need to be in Schenectady. Well, you know what? I'm those kinds of people. I never thought Rotterdam would be discriminatory, but I've seen the actions of Mr. Mastriani when it came to senior citizens. I start here with these people here, and it's all volunteer. It's not costing us a dime, but you have no problem doing a $34 million water deal that's going to cost district, you only have a couple people here. That's going to cost Rotterdam, me, hundreds of dollars. You got a center over there that's there to help people. They're serving meals to the families, to the kids. I don't understand where your priorities are, but it's definitely not here for the residents of Rotterdam. You're out to serve your own damn interests, and that's sad. Thank you.
Dustin Longmire?
Thank you so much, friends. Good to see you again. I won't keep you, hours away from the bathroom again tonight, so don't worry about that. Although we will be back next week, this special meeting, I just wanted to pop in and provide a little bit of clarification and a bit of updates. First of all, just to correct the record slightly, Brenda, I was quoted in the newspaper, and Supervisor Collins was right that she was not present in that meeting.
Well, I understand that, but it was said.
Well, and furthermore, there was nothing said in that meeting that was saying certain people don't belong in Rotterdam. I believe what was said was that this building does not belong in Rotterdam, and I do want to be very honest about that. That said, I also appreciate, I don't really know how the order of things goes. I would have stayed if I knew Ron was going to make some comments, and I didn't know everyone else talked afterwards, so I do apologize for that as well. Please forward my apology to Ron. I wanted to clarify especially how the rezoning reduction is in fact getting in the way of the ongoing operations of the community center, because that was a really good question that Ron brought up at our last meeting. So all along, we've been working through a process led by the New York State Council of Churches since 2020 to redevelop properties and help guide. I don't know how to redevelop properties. I'm a pastor. I know about the Bible mostly, right? We've been working with them since 2020, guided by the comprehensive plan and guided by what we understood was the zoning height requirement for our property. And we selected a developer a year ago. And the deal was that if it looked like things were going to be kind of favorable moving forward, we would start to receive $50,000 a year starting this September to operate the community center. Right now I am the only full-time staff person for both. We have myself and we have our director of operations at Messiah, but otherwise we're the only full-time staff people operating this space that once again welcomes 350 people a week. I'm completely not on the town's dime at all. We're proud of that, and we're trying to meet a number of things in that comprehensive plan, right? That talks about a community center. I think it mentions a community center next to a park. And look, I have ongoing concerns about the safety with how little staff there is in that space, and that $50,000 a year was going to allow us to hire a full-time director of the community center. Was going to allow us just that little bit more bandwidth to in the years in between, when we moved forward with our, kind of had a soft agreement with our developer before construction was happening. That was going to allow us to properly staff that place in the meantime. So we're gonna do everything we can to try to fundraise to keep the center open with a proper amount of staffing. But I think, as I said to the town planner Peter Comenzo, right? At the last time we had that private meeting that Supervisor Collins wasn't present, I got to start sleeping again at some point. I took it. I was comfortable telling our congregation that I would really work overtime to both serve as an executive director of that space, because it was needed. People needed to be fed in Rotterdam, and there was just so many people struggling with food insecurity, mental health and wellness, arts and culture, lack of access to those sort of programs. I was able to say, I'm going to pretty much do 2 full-time jobs for 3 years in a row as this pre-development process happened. And now lowering that building height will make it absolutely impossible to build affordable housing in that space. Last thing I'll say, I'm pretty sure we are standing in a very beautiful, partially 3-story building in a residential neighborhood. The renovations are lovely. When I look up from my driveway, from 4 Oak Street, the parsonage of Messiah Lutheran Church, I look at the Esquire Village Apartments, also a 3-story building in a residential neighborhood. Many members of our congregation live there. These are great sort of spaces that can provide safe and affordable housing to people, and so many of our residents are asking for affordable housing as well. I thank you for considering my thoughts today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. That's it, Mom.
All right, then I'm closing privilege of the floor. We'll move on to our resolution. Our first resolution is Resolution 264 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To accept bid and award contract for 6.3 millimeter polymer modified hot mix asphalt highway resurfacing, number 2024-001.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
the resolution passes. Resolution 265 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To accept bid and award contract for mill and fill 6.3 polymer modified hot mix asphalt highway paving, number 2024-002.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
resolution passes. Our next resolution is Resolution 266 of the year 2024. And as I advised the council members before, that's your second packet because there were some slight differences in what the backup here says and what the real backup is. So, all right. So on Resolution 266, the clerk will read.
To enter into an agreement pursuant to Highway Law, Section 284 for the town highway paving for 2024.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 267 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to execute a contract with Anthem Blue Cross for vision coverage.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Seconded by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 268 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute amendment number 2 to an existing agreement with Labella for Sewer District number 7, extension number 1, benefit assessment determination.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. Clerk will call, or I'm sorry, on the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
resolution passes. Resolution 269 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with CB20.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dobson is absent. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlag is absent. Mrs. Collins?
Yes,
3 yes, 2 absent.
resolution passes. And that concludes our resolutions for this evening. We'll now move to liaison report. Do any of the board members have anything under liaisons that they'd like to say?
Molly, I'd like to talk about the Energy Committee. Again, they're doing a fabulous job, numerous hours from all of them. They did take some feedback from the Planning Commission where people just wanted to learn a little bit more about it on the Planning Commission. So they had a quite lengthy meeting to just go over like what was that feedback. So we did incorporate that in our last energy meeting, and so we've revised that document and it will be updated for all to see and submitted, and we'll address it again at the next meeting.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Yes. Anyone else? Joe?
Yeah, I would like to respond to the public comments
Well,
today.
that's for miscellaneous, we're still under liaison report.
Oh, no liaison report, but I do have miscellaneous comment.
And then we'll move on to, do you have anything else under the?
No.
Okay, then we'll move on to miscellaneous.
I just wanted to keep order.
Yeah, I didn't know anything about your project, and, last meeting when people were speaking, there was a strong impression and understanding that the town board prevented either the food pantry. Well, I mean, it's clear that what a three-story, a reduction from 3 stories down to 2 stories for our Main Street neighborhood center overlay districts, that prevents a developer from purchasing your land and putting in affordable housing. And, that I had no idea that you had such a proposal for your piece of property. So the feelings of the people that were here, and kind of even, blaming the town board for preventing, say, a food shelter from continuing operation. And Mr. Rosen referred to somebody, speaking at the pantry. Are they going to shut us down?
They're concerned.
And they being the state of New York, the town of Rotterdam, the county of Schenectady.
The residents of Rotterdam.
No, they as in the they that is going to shut down the food pantry is whom specifically?
Basically, you guys.
The town of Rotterdam.
You changed the zoning. And I don't understand, if
Right.
you're a board member, I don't understand.
So,
You're a board
I'd like to
member, you
address that.
realize it?
This is what I'd like to address. So, Pastor Longmire, if you could explain, you referred to $50,000 a year. Is the food pantry in threat of being shut down?
Am I allowed?
Yeah, if I may.
If Supervisor Collins allows me to talk, explain, I'm happy to explain.
That,
Or after the meeting officially, I'm happy to
Yeah.
explain too. Whatever's best.
I think it's better after the meeting.
Yeah, I mean, generally, this is your time to
Okay.
respond.
So after the meeting, I'd like to discuss
Yeah.
the viability of the food pantry
Yeah.
and how the actions of the town board threaten that viability, and the perception out there that that we're trying to shut down a food pantry, which is patently false. So, I would like to comment that, I'll speak for myself, the outpouring of love and spirit at the last town board meeting, the community that you have willing to stand up and defend, and that's terrific, and that's exemplary that you have that going on. So good on you. But the idea that that outpouring of effort was going to affect how this board proceeds in its zoning, and it's not the most effective way. It's a bit showy, and you utilize that like Brenda has, with the Viaport lease deal. You utilize that at a point where a vote is about to happen. But we should all be lobbying our governments. We should be lobbying our elected officials, and I welcome what you're doing there, and in wanting to see it succeed. But the characterization is, I feel bad for a lot of the people that they're thinking that we're trying to shut them down. That's not the case. So when that's the characterization, as Brenda, you do so well, overly characterizing and sensationalizing things.
Oh, I don't
It
agree
doesn't-
with that
it-
comment at all, Mr. Mastriani.
It's not the most, it's not the most effective way, and I hope that there is a clarity of understanding. I look forward to speaking shortly and finding out what the deal is.
You finally got a chance to attack me after all
Anybody
these
else
months.
that would like to speak under miscellaneous?
I'd just like to clarify a couple of points from privilege of the floor. In no way was this zoning change targeted at any individual or targeted at affordable housing or anything like that. The real goal of the change from a zoning perspective is to fight urban sprawl, right? As the city's boundaries expand and you get more and more populated, you get more and more developers wanting to build up the surrounding areas into larger and larger areas, which pushes out these small residential homes in favor of developers buying bigger blocks of land and put up these big buildings, and it gets worse and worse and worse. So the real goal of the zoning change is to fight that and preserve the character of the area as a residential community and not these towering skyscrapers. That was the goal of the zoning change. It wasn't targeted towards the community center. It's not targeted at affordable housing. It's not targeted at any of those issues. And certainly the town is not trying to shut down the community center in the sense we want the food pantry to continue. We want people to still continue receiving those services. Nor is anything in this law targeted to stop that specifically. The real goal, as I said, is to preserve the character of the community. Yes, do certain buildings existing today have 3 stories? Yeah, but they're what we call non-conforming uses. This happens as zoning codes change. Prior things that may have been allowed become non-conforming uses that continue, but we don't have more and more coming in and developing as time moves forward. So I just wanted to clarify as to what the goal of the zoning change was for, and leave it at that. I don't want to get into too many of these other issues, but really what I'm just trying to highlight here is what we were trying to address as the town's concerns as we made that change in the zoning.
And I'd like to reiterate also that, you know, I think as a community, we love the idea that there's a food pantry, and it does seem that those are 2 separate entities. And I also heard a lot of people very confused about, you know, what the board voted for versus, you know, our support of the food pantry. And I think across the board, we're all very active in our churches and in the community. And so that was not a fair assessment of who we are as people. And so we really do appreciate what you're doing. And it really was a vote because of the building.
Does anyone else on the board want to say anything?
Yeah, you know, the characterization, I'm quoting Ms. DeRosian, that we don't care about the people, we don't care about the less fortunate. You know, though that's sharp accusation, and that's a very much a mischaracterization. You know, so we do, you know, we do care about this inflation that's going on and what it does to people on a fixed income. There's a lot of seniors in our community on a fixed income that are suffering gravely right now. And to characterize this board, I hope that, you know, and Pastor Longmire, I appreciate you coming to clarify a few things, and I hope the clarification has been made amongst your flock as well, that this is not, you know, our agenda. So that's all I have. And you know, one thing we do care about too that we're aware of is, you know, traffic from Hamburg Street to Five Corners. It's dense. It's 20 minutes and half an hour in rush hour traffic to get from one end to the other. So, you know, we have to look at that as well. You know, we have to look at a lot of things. So.
All right, that concludes our business for tonight. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.